Hey guys, Chad from Stick. Today I just want to do a quick video. It's going to be a comparison video on two tents that I think that are, I don't know about others, but two tents that I have considered to be very similar, but at the same time to be quite different. The two tents I'm going to compare is going to be behind me. To my left, this is my buddy Hiking Shoes. This is his Henry Shires Tarptent Contrail tent. You can see here. And then to my right is my Yama Mountain Gear Cirriform single wall one-person tent. And in my opinion, these two tents are very similar. Some people may bash me for saying that, but at the same time I do agree that there are some pretty drastic differences between the two. And I just want to kind of cover a couple of those, you know, since I've got both these tents side by side. First off, I want to say cost. The Henry Shires Tarp tent cost $189 brand new, and then the Yama Mountain Gear tent to your right cost $420 brand new. So there's a huge difference there in cost. And the biggest reason is going to be because the Yama Mountain Gear tarp or tent actually has a Cuban fiber canopy. And as everybody that's heard about Cuban fiber knows, Cuban fiber comes at a cost. And that's definitely the cost. So this tent is more than twice the cost of this tent. Listed weights, according to the website, the Contrail is listed at 24 ounces, and I do believe that includes the stuff sack and the stakes. And the Yama Mountain Gear comes in at a listed 19.9 ounces, and that includes stuff sack, guy lines, everything but the stakes. I'm not going to worry about quoting actual weights on these, because to be honest, I can't remember right off the top of my head exactly what mine weighs, and I'm not sure if he knows exactly what his weighs right at the moment. But anyway, those are the listed weights. So I'm not trying to promote one over the other, saying one's better than the other. This is going to be personal preference for whatever reason you may have, but I just wanted to do this video to just kind of put both these tents side by side. For the longest time, I wanted the Contrail, just simply because I love the shape of it, I love the design. It's an A-frame type tent. It's a great price. And I just, you know, I really wanted it. It seems to be a classic Appalachian Trail through hike shelter, actually. And I always really wanted one. But before I got a chance to get one, Jen from Yama Mountain Gear came out with this. And I said, you know what? I said, that's everything that I wanted in the Contrail, but more stuff that I wanted to be changed about the Contrail was in this tent. Particularly what I wanted to see changed was I wanted the Cuban canopy, but I wanted to stick with a seal nylon floor just because of the abrasion resistance or lack of abrasion resistance that Cuban fiber has over seal nylon. So I like the idea of keeping a seal nylon floor and using a canopy top. And the whole point of that is going to be to cut a little bit of weight. Now it doesn't cut a lot, because if you'll remember, I said this one's listed at 24 and this one's listed at just say 20 ounces because it's 19.9. There's only a 4-ounce difference there. But whenever you're counting every little gram, ounces count, grams count, and you're losing 4 ounces. That's a quarter of a pound you're going to lose with this tent. But anyway, so I went ahead and got that. One other thing that I really like that Jen did with this tent over the Contrail is, if you'll notice, and it might be kind of hard to show here, but the height doesn't decrease so much as it goes from the head to the foot. Now looking at the Contrail, you'll see that the height decreases dramatically from the head end to the foot end. So there's actually more vertical room throughout that entire Yama Mountain Gear tent than there is a Contrail tent. And for me, that was something that I was interested in as well. I liked having more height within the tent. Now saying that, the listed height for the Contrail on the website is 45 inches. The listed height for the Yama Mountain Gear is 41 inches at the head and 26 inches at the foot. But what I want to say about both of these tents is, while that may be the manufacturer's listed spec as far as height's concerned, what it's really going to come down to is what you set your trekking pole at. To be honest, I've always set my trekking pole on my Yama Mountain Gear tent probably about 3 inches too high. And you can even look right here and tell. You can see that the floor of the bathtub is not quite touching the ground, and that's the result of setting the tent just a little bit high. However, the interior space, the floor space, is so large in there, it doesn't really matter. I'm not really putting any kind of a load bearing pressure or anything on places that I shouldn't be. But because of that, I'm able to set it up just a little bit higher and get a couple extra inches in my headroom. And he can do the same with his. At the moment, his is actually, I think, set up pretty much to spec. Maybe about 1.5 inches up, maybe 1 inch, 1.5 inches up, you can see there. But anyway, so both great tents. One other thing I want to point out is Henry Shires actually uses a vent at the tip of his, whereas Yama Mountain Gear doesn't. The only ventilation coming through the Yama tent is going to be around the edges, which you have the same thing around the edges of the Henry Shires tarp tent. Another cool thing is if you'll look at the foot here, he's got a big area there where air can blow right into that tent, and that really makes it nice. Now these are set up, I believe, to where if it's raining you can lower this down, and maybe, I'm not 100% sure, I know some of his you can actually clip the walls up a little bit to help get a little bit more coverage around the perimeter. Whereas on the Yammas, they just simply rely on a larger or a taller, deeper bathtub, and then the actual canopy actually comes in closer to the bathtub. Now I could guy the canopies out just a little bit farther on mine and get a little bit more width out of it, but the length of the cords that I have attached to it now, that's pretty close to what it's going to allow me. So anyway, real quick, I just want to show you the insides of these two tents. We'll start with the contrail. You see Henry Shire uses a Velcro along the side. It's interesting because both of these tents open up the same way. This front flap here basically detaches along this side and folds back. Same way on the Yama tent. That's actually a zipper, but you unzip it all the way up and it folds back. So, pull that back, and then we'll take a look at the inside here. I don't know how well you can see this on the camera. I'm just hoping you can see it pretty well. But as you can see, it is actually a complete bathtub floor all the way around. There is one seam, it looks like. Let's see, okay. So as you can see, it is a bathtub floor all the way around. It's got plenty of mesh along the sides so that air can circulate up into the inside of this tarp or tent. You can see it does have one strip across the middle there where it's been seam sealed. However, the cool thing about that is everybody that's used seal nylon knows seal nylon is slippery. But putting that seam there and being able to seam seal it, that actually gives it a little bit of a tacky strip so that your pad and everything kind of stays in place just a little bit. Now I don't know how well you can tell, but you can see that the canopy slopes down pretty drastically towards the foot. Now that's okay because you still have plenty of room to sit up here at the head end of the tent and do whatever you want. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but you've got a big area, a vestibule area here. Actually it's bigger than the vestibule area under the Yama Mountain Gear. But you've got plenty of room, plenty of room to set a pack over here, or if it's raining you could sit in here, pull the canopy down, and you'll have plenty of room if you want to cook or whatever. Do that at your own regard. But anyway, as you can see, it's pretty nice on the inside. Very wide, got a lot of width in here. And what's cool is since it's a single wall shelter, you're able to take advantage of all the interior room because there is no double wall mesh internet tent inside here. You can see how the pole attaches in there. But anyway, that's the inside of the contrail. Now real quick, we're going to take a look at the inside of the Yama Mountain Gear tent. Like I said, it uses a zipper. And then this is looking on the inside of the Yama tent. And you may have all seen this before in my other videos. But you can see it's got a huge high bathtub floor. However, like I pointed out on the inside of the contrail, you don't need such a high bathtub floor because the canopy actually stops so far away from the floor. But if you're looking at this one, you can see that the canopy actually comes pretty close to the side. So you really need that high bathtub floor to help prevent some splashback. One thing that I think is pretty neat about this, if you have to really pitch this tent low, you can actually run this cord up through this one here, and that'll kind of decrease the space on the bathtub floor there so that you don't have a bunch of sag here. I thought that was a really good idea. And what I really like is Jen made sure not to put any, he didn't sew anything to the actual canopy of the tent. What he did is he actually sewed all of the mesh to a small strip of Cuban fiber, and then he taped that strip of Cuban fiber to the canopy. So there's no seams anywhere on this outside canopy. So that's really great. That means it's 100% waterproof. Very cool. Open up the door pretty similar to the same way that you do the contrail, and take a look in here. So here we're looking at the inside. Like I said, the biggest thing I notice about this is just the super high bathtub floor. Now one downside to this is there is 2 strips running the full length of the tent, and of course you can see there's a mesh vent in the back, and of course there's the mesh vent up here in the door. But I do believe there's probably going to be less circulation come through this tent than there would be the contrail, just because of the high bathtub floors. But at the same time, that makes it really nice. You'll notice there is no seam on this bathtub floor. It's all one piece. So, you know, it's completely 100% waterproof. I could put some dots in here to help with the tackiness, because I'll tell you what, like I said, anybody that's messed with seal nylon knows this stuff is pretty slick, and you'll slide all over the place in this thing. But anyway, one of the things that you might notice is the canopy, while it does slope, it doesn't slope hardly at all. And to me, what I like about that is it just really seems to open up the feel of interior space, just because it just seems bigger looking down there. But anyway, you can see here there's not much of a vestibule with this tarp. Like I said, definitely more of a vestibule with a contrail than with this one. However, I would put my pack on the inside, so I'm not so worried about leaving my pack outside. There would be enough room. I could sit there and I could, you know, put my little cook kit or something right here and cook me up a little meal or something if I need to. But another thing too, if you'll notice, the front canopy actually comes down lower to the ground there, so you're going to get more protection than you will with this one. Anyway, those are 2 tents that I myself was very interested in, and I felt like there were a lot of similarities to the 2. I hope this video has kind of helped you look or see some of the things that are similar as well as some of the things that are different. In my opinion, they're both great tents. I just think that it depends on which one you might go with. It just depends on what your own personal needs may be. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate everybody for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post those at the bottom. I'll do my best to reply to any of the comments you may have or answer any of the questions you may have. And if I can't answer them, maybe I can direct you towards someone that can. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. There's Charlie. His old hiking shoes. You can thank him for giving me the opportunity to set up his contrail tent there to do the comparison.
And the freaking heat.
And the freaking heat. It is pretty warm out here. We're sweating pretty good. Anyway, if you're interested, I'm fixing to do a comparison on these 2 tents here. Some of you may know what they are. This is the MSR Carbon Reflex 2, and that's the Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2. I'm going to do that next. We'll see you then.